My name is Danny Fong. I'm 30 years old and I'm a freelance musician and artist. I grew up in a small prairie city called Saskatoon, and I moved to Toronto to obtain my Bachelor of Music degree, and that was in 2007 to 2011. And then a year after that, I did a Bachelor of Education degree, and yeah, that's my academic background, I guess. Aside from music, I like social activities. I'm a really extroverted person, and I like soccer and rock climbing and playing board games. And I spend a lot of time thinking about psychology and spirituality and analyzing human behavior. I'm just a big people watcher, and I like to think about that a lot. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell, I think. So my arranging style takes a lot of influence from Gene Perling's work with the high-lows. And when I first discovered the high-lows, I'm trying to remember when it was, probably 2008 or something like that. I was a bit late to the game for experiencing the high-lows in terms of the other guys in accent, at least. But I really identified with how fun-loving and goofy they were, and how they're always having so much fun and enjoying the performance. I think that's something that's always been a requirement for every arrangement that I write, has just been, it has to be fun to sing, because it's for myself to sing. I'm writing it for me, and having fun is just something that's so ingrained in my personality type that I feel that that's just something that has to be there, I guess. And as someone who's been training his voice for several years, when I did my music degree studying voice, so I've always been aspiring to be a stronger vocalist. I've been heavily inspired by the work of background vocalists. So groups like Steely Dan, let's say, they've got all of the members in the group, but they also have a couple singers who come on the road with them that are just known for having their raw power, so that the harmonies are always sounding as good as they can sound. And yeah, when I write arrangements, I think a lot about making sure they're fun to sing, but also that I can really feel like everyone in the group can show off their voice, because that's what we're really doing when we're singing an a cappella arrangement, is just singing. And if everyone feels like they're proud of what they're doing, rather than just singing a bunch of notes that happen to make harmony, I think it's a lot more fun when it's like, yeah, I'm singing these notes, but I'm singing them and they sound great. And why shouldn't we, I guess? So each arrangement that I write is a little bit different, I guess. Sometimes when I start arranging, I try to see the song as a whole piece and break it up into different sections and think about different arranging ideas I can incorporate into them, whether it be singing solo voices or in duets, or just the full group sound, or a soloist with harmonies supporting it. So I like to break it down into different sections sometimes, but the inspiration for how I want to sing it, I think, always comes from the thought, how would I want to sing this if I was singing it as a solo first? How can I let the individual voices shine through? And then after I have that vision, I guess, I just add other voices to complement it in whatever way I think sounds fitting at the time. I think this was written in February of last year. It may not have come out then, but I think that's when I was writing it. And the inspiration for writing my originals typically comes from whatever I'm feeling in the moment. And something that I've struggled with my whole life is just being aware of what I'm feeling and being able to communicate it. So when I write songs like Broken, it's a chance for me to express something that I'm feeling that normally, or sometimes is more difficult for me to talk about. And when I wrote Broken, I was going through a really depressing time. And living in Canada in the wintertime can be very difficult because it's so cold outside and you don't get a lot of sunlight, and most of the people just stay indoors. Actually, something that happens in the springtime, it's funny, as soon as the weather gets nicer, the expression I like to use is all of the humans come out to play because the streets are just so barren in the wintertime, and yeah, it's almost like you're in a completely different world when you're in Canada in the winter. But a close friend of mine who I've known for a long time and struggles with communicating his emotions was the focal point of this song. And it was related to me in the lyrics, I am here for you and I'm broken too. And we all struggle at different times in our lives. Having people who care about you to help you in these times of struggles is something that I think is crucial for human existence, that everything is based on connection. And if you're having these feelings, just having a person there to love you and care for you is just what makes this suffering bearable, I guess. My writing process is typically lyrics first, so I can get my thoughts on paper. And when I write my lyrics, it starts as a form of journaling. I just write, these are all the things I'm feeling, and then how can I make these lyrics more succinct or easier to digest without feeling like I'm like reading a line out of my diary or something when I'm performing a song, which wouldn't be a bad thing either. But I don't know. Sometimes I think more is less, so I try to use less words to make things a bit ambiguous too. I think the best thing about a lot of songs is just that you don't know what they mean, and you can relate them to yourself because they're just kind of open concepts. So, yeah, my writing process, lyrics first, and then afterwards, melody and chords just come naturally. It's very easy for me to just sit down at a piano and take any set of lyrics, whether they're my own or someone else's, and just like play some chords that I think help emphasize that. For melodies, at least, one of the things I like to do, is speaking the words as if I were singing them. So if I took the line, I'm here for you, I'm broken too. If I was speaking that like an actor or something, it would be, I am here for you, I'm broken too. Like there's this sadness to the second part of it. And when you speak with emphasis, I am here, the here, when you put more emphasis into it, the pitch goes upwards. So I like to base my melodies around how I would speak it. I am here for you, I'm broken too. And the harmonies hopefully help support the melody that is based on how I would speak the emotion, I guess. So that's my inspiration and writing process, I think. The Real Group publishes some of their arrangements, and that was one of the ones that I just thought, I got to do this one right. So I just purchased a copy from the website. I purchased 5 copies just so that we were purchasing one for each person. And let me think about... So the mic I'm using right now is what I think I used on it as well, which is my SM7B by Shure. And my preamp is... I'm just hearing noises in the house. They're distracting me. My preamp is the Apogee Duet, and the old version of it. There's a whole bunch of newer ones that have come out, but I'm still living in the 90s or whenever it came out. And I use Logic Pro to record my audio. So I started with GarageBand when I was at Humber, and Logic Pro was just kind of the more advanced version with more features, and all of the hotkeys were the same, so it was easy for me to step up to that one, and I've just always stuck with it because I like it and I know how it works. So when I recorded this piece, I think I recorded my own parts first, which in this arrangement I sang the tenor and the baritone. And when I recorded it, I made sure to get the pitches and the timing as close to perfect as possible. And when you're recording at home, you have the leisure of re-recording things until they sound great. So I tried to create a perfect version of these two parts. But perfection in terms of notes and rhythms doesn't always necessarily mean good music. So I recorded those first so that I could get a solid foundation for the other people to work with. And I think Meg came to my house next to record the soprano part. And Meg Meg is such a pro. She's so musical whenever she sings, that I didn't even have to worry about like guiding her or saying, sing it this way, try more of this. She just knows. So I sent our 3 tracks to Evan and Simon, and I let them do their thing as well, and they're also musical, so they know what to do. And then after they sent them back to me, and I had an idea of what the whole thing sounded like, I re-recorded some of my own parts to make them feel more real and free and effortless. I think a very important element of the recording was to make sure that our individual voices were heard, and not to just create another copy of the real group version. Because when you take an arrangement like this, an Anders arrangement, one of the things that makes Anders such an amazing arranger is that it's incredibly musical, but also very accessible to sing. He doesn't just write hard stuff for the sake of showing off. He knows how to make it musical and does like great voice leading. So like when we were just at a festival in Italy, and we met Anders, or I met Anders for the first time, and we were singing a couple of real group things, and lots of people at this festival knew these songs. And it just reminded me, like, yeah, like any average person can sing these, but to take it to the next level, to make it feel really musical, it takes a lot of understanding of how to be a musical singer yourself. I remember Simon singing one of his lines in this song, sweet harmony is on the menu. Didn't I tell you it was my favorite venue? The way he sang that sign was that the way he sung that line was so backphrased that the first time I heard it, I sent him a message and said, I don't like this. It doesn't sound good. And then he said, just wait, just listen to it with the other parts and wait till it's all grooving. And then like, sweet harmony is on the menu. Didn't I tell you it was my favorite venue? I'm in heaven. Like, yeah, just how each of the parts takes control of the melody. When I hear our version back, I just think like, oh, that was so Meg, or that was so Simon singing that part. And I think that's what helps our version just feel like our own version and not just a copy of the real group. I'm sure we used a click track on that one. It changes based on each song that I'm singing, because a lot of songs that are Perling influenced are just very much in the air, and the tempo pushes and pulls a lot with the lines. But I think with that one, it just starts so in time. Hungry, who me, yeah, why not? I think if we didn't use a metronome, there would have been obvious changes in tempo that it wouldn't have grooved correctly. So I think the metronome was there. So as a freelancer, I do a lot of things. Some freelancers just do one thing and they do it freely and they know how to make the work happen. Another part of like my personality type of just having fun, I guess, and doing all of the things is having a lot of different jobs that I feel like I can spend my time equally between and fully commit myself to, I guess. So one of the main things I do is singing with accent, and we get together every few months, I guess, maybe, which is more than it used to be. When we started, it was more like every 6 months or something like that. So when we get together in whatever country can afford to bring us there, we do the obvious performing, but we also do workshops, coaching, adjudicating, or when we were in Hong Kong, sometimes it's learning dance moves. But we basically just do whatever people require us to do for whatever event they're trying to do. So one of my jobs as a freelancer with accent is just sing songs and do whatever people will ask us to do. Jump through the hoops, I guess. Accent is completely based away from home, except when we're, like every once in a while we make a YouTube video. When we started with accent, we were making a lot of YouTube videos. Now we don't do it quite as often, but every once in a while we put one together to keep our presence known to the world, as well as to keep some money coming in through Patreon as well, which I'll talk about in a second. when I'm not with Accent and I'm here in Toronto, I work a series of different music-related jobs here as well. So the first thing is teaching voice lessons. And I've been teaching voice lessons for several years now, but I feel like it's only been in the last 8 months or so that I've really found my footing as a professional voice teacher, and feel like any question that someone comes to ask me about their own voice, I feel like I know the answer now. And earlier in my teaching career, there was a lot of trial and error of, oh, that's interesting that you think that. How do we figure that out together? Teaching is such a learning experience for me as well, to help see voices and how people have built them up in their own ways, or the bad habits, and how we can unlearn them together. So voice lessons are something I'm doing quite passionately these days, and I'm getting maybe 1 or 2 new students every couple weeks. And I love it. I want to be doing more of that, I think. I sing in a church choir, and I've been singing in choirs my whole life since I was a kid. And it's always been for fun or through school. And I get a lot of joy from singing, as anyone would expect, I'm sure. But to be part of a community that everyone wants to be there for the same reason, and I get to show up as a professional and just help lead others. A big part of my my passion and purpose in life, I think, is to help other people grow in any ways that it can. And if it's musical leadership, then I'm happy to do that. And it's a very fulfilling job for me to just be part of a choir. So what else do I do? I have my own YouTube channel. And Patreon with that as well. And what Patreon sometimes feels like a gift from God or something, because I was making my own YouTube videos since 2008 for several years. And again, when I started in college doing this, it was, I want to sing a cappella arrangements, and I don't have any friends who care as much as I do, or who want to put in the time to learn how to tune chords and all this stuff. So I was making these by myself because I could and I wanted to. And then several years later, once I'd established my own fan base and my reputation, I guess, in the YouTube a cappella world, Patreon came out as a platform like Kickstarter, where people pledge $1 or $5 or whatever people feel they can or want to share to support an artist. And each time I release a video, since they've already pledged this money, I click a button on the website and it charges their credit card that $1 or something. So a lot of like when I was starting on YouTube, people were like posting all their songs to iTunes and trying to sell them for $1 each. But the trouble of going through buying something on iTunes, especially when it's already free, a lot of people just don't care. They don't want to put in that time. So it's hard to make money for what you're doing. But with Patreon, people can see the stuff you're doing. You can communicate with them, and they're watching you grow as a musician, and they know that they're helping you grow as well. That, again, it's a two-way street. It's, to them, it's just $1, but they get to see how they're changing someone else's life, I guess. One of the things I just put out on YouTube the other day as a Patreon release was a performance I did at my church with my church choir, but it was a solo piece, and it was a musical theater kind of piece, big and loud. And since I'm used to only singing with a microphone and harmonizing, it brings me a lot of anxiety to attempt a piece like that, I guess. And part of my journey as a human is to allow myself to be as vulnerable as possible as an artist. So to share that piece, even though I knew it wasn't perfect, it was still a chance for me to say, like, this is who I am. This is myself being vulnerable. I don't care if you like this or not. I'm just doing it because it helps me grow. And the reaction that I get from the patrons is just like, thank you for sharing this. We're here to support you. Like, even if you put out something that isn't our favorite piece of music, we don't really care. We're here because, like, we want to feel connected and feel like we're supporting something greater than ourselves, which I think is the purpose of all human beings on earth, is to feel like you're part of something greater than yourself. And I also, I guess on top of Patreon, I also do work for hire, whatever that means on whatever given day. Sometimes people contact me and say, can you record some learning tracks to this? Or I've had some producers say, can you like arrange some background vocals for this album I'm working on and then record all the parts yourself? And so I've done several projects like that just one-off things that it's like, as a creative person, it's nice to have someone say, here's some stuff, do your thing to it. And it's like, it feels really good to be appreciated for knowing what my specific style is. Like back to my arranging style, people who reach out to me, they do because they think like, oh, like that background harmony or that background singer's kind of arrangement is something that like, that's Danny's sound and we want Danny's sound. And that's something I've been working on to understand my own individuality, because when you're part of a group like Accent and you've got these guys who are just the best vocal jazz arrangers you've ever in the world, most likely. And sometimes I feel like, well, sure, I can write that stuff, but it doesn't really feel me all the time. So to establish my own sound and have people reach out for me for my own sound is something that I'm continuing working at, but it feels pretty good to have work come in like that. And I'm also, or right now, one of the work for hire things I'm doing is singing with an a cappella group called Cadence, which is a group based in Toronto that their thing is 4 men, 4 microphones, and they do all of the sounds that humans can do, from harmonicas and flutes and trumpets and drums. And it's quite a spectacle, their show. And one of their members got sick recently, and they asked me to come fill in for them. So I've been doing shows with them at elementary schools and working with kids and at the radio station. And it's fun to have a vocal group in your hometown, because I don't have one. It's like such a big part of my identity is a vocal group singer, and I don't have my own vocal group when I'm at home. That those things feel like they should align. But they don't sometimes. Sometimes I'm just teaching my lessons and doing my things, but not actually doing one of my greatest passions. So it's been really nice to have some work for hire singing a cappella music, and for them this group to think, oh, our member's sick, we need someone to fill in, and to just go, Danny's the guy. Like it feels pretty good to be respected and chosen for that option. So Accent, all of the members of Accent were YouTube people, multi-trackers or just observers, and we connected through YouTube by watching each other grow mostly. Since when I started in 2008, I was just a young boy who wasn't very experienced and wasn't always in tune, and watching other guys from around the world establishing themselves and improving their craft. We'd always be commenting on each other's videos, and we weren't the only ones doing this either. There was people from other countries outside of our own doing this as well, and we observed them all as well, and just thought, these guys are the best ones. These are the ones that we need to make our super group out of, I guess. But at that time, we weren't thinking about a super group. We were just thinking about collaboration, just because, to make some music with something greater than yourself, just like I was saying before, is exciting. Throughout the years, we collaborated more and more until our first Take 6 cover, which we did in 2012, I think, or maybe 2011. And we just thought, well, if we're covering a Take 6 song, we might as well have 6 singers. So we found our 6 singers of choice that we knew could handle the harmony and sing in tune. And it's not the easiest thing to find people who, when you say like, hey, will you sing this Take 6 song with me, you trust that they'll be able to do it, or you won't have to like help them along the way or teach them, because we want to be on the same playing field. 2012, we were making our first videos, and in 2014, we got this opportunity from a festival in Sweden that Simon's dad is the artistic director for, I guess. And they messaged us and said, hey, Accent, we want you to come headline our festival as the group that's never met before. And like, that was a dream come true for us, because we thought like, we're just doing this for fun from our own bedrooms. Like, to be offered a trip to sing for some people, like, that's amazing. And when we went, we didn't have any expectations. We just thought, like, yeah, these people know how to sing, but maybe they're difficult to work with or anything or something like that. And well, to fly to Sweden and then have all of us be living in the same house as complete strangers, it didn't take more than a few minutes for us to just like to realize we're like musical soulmates in so many ways. It's like all of your bandmates, your destined bandmates that you've never met before are just suddenly all together and you're like, whoa, I can sing harmony with you and you know how to do it, and like you can talk about theory and you two know how to do that, and it was crazy. And from that moment we knew this is something that we have to dedicate our time to. We have to grow. It has to be something that we can be proud about, something that we can make our careers, because it would be silly to throw away an opportunity as amazing as this to meet all these people and then just say, well, going back to my family, goodbye. So since then, we've just been steadily trying to keep making YouTube videos to help grow our audience. Sometimes they're covers, sometimes they're like informational videos to show, like a big part of Accent's sound and the history of vocal jazz is based in academia. So a lot of our performances are at universities and stuff like that. So to establish ourselves as educators as well as performers has been beneficial for us to keep finding work in other places as well. Yeah, all of us have our own set of skills, and it's really interesting how we come together in the group, whether it be for work or just interacting socially. And like Simon and James and JB have put in their time transcribing arrangements and knowing these harmonies inside and out, that they can redefine the genre, because anyone can play 6 notes on the piano and try them around until they sound like nice chords, but it takes a much greater understanding to not only choose chords, but one of the things I like to say that Accent does is when people come to listen to us, they don't necessarily like clap along or shout at us, because they're so focused on hearing what we're singing, because since everything's arranged, we're appreciating what the arranger's done by listening. So sometimes clapping or something takes away from that. And yeah, I find that these guys they know how to communicate emotion through the chords that they choose. So we can be singing a pop cover or something like that, but the dissonances and like the way that we build and flesh out chords can communicate emotion in ways that transcend the lyrics, which oftentimes that's what the lyrics do. But when you're singing pop songs that are just like, yeah, the lyrics are whatever, it doesn't matter what they mean. She's so hot, he doesn't care, like, it doesn't matter. But yeah, that's where our individuality comes through, I think. My work in Accent, so that's the 3 Europeans. Evan and Andrew they're like the mother and father of the group. Sometimes we refer to them as. They keep everything in line. They know how to like build a group. They see the greater vision. They inspire us all to work harder and to put out the most professional product that we can. And yeah, it wouldn't be possible to grow our group without them. So that's where I think that's where their purpose is in Accent. Not that they're not amazing musicians as well, because they are. But I think that's where they excel in the group. And I like to think that my role in Accent is being the people person. I'm the person who loves to connect with new people, and I genuinely love to connect with the people who come to hear us perform. And it's my goal whenever I talk to people before or after we perform, is to try to remove any pedestal that performers may hold themselves upon, because people are often impressed with the sounds that we create, but it's my goal for us to be remembered for the entire experience of meeting us and seeing us and feeling appreciated. And I do my best to offer my time and energy to thank our fans and to connect with them, because we would be nowhere without them. And I think I want everyone who leaves our performance to think like, wow, something changed in my life by meeting these guys. And it wasn't just, they were really amazing, back to my home. It's like, they were really amazing and they care so much about me. And feeling cared for is a basic human instinct that everyone is searching for. And I feel in order to grow our group, we need to not only connect with our fans from establishing ourselves as talented performers, but also establish ourselves as communicative people who care about other people and inspire people for all the reasons, I guess. And for Accent's future, because I love connecting with people and educating, for Accent's future, I'm currently developing a mindfulness in music workshop. And I have another workshop that I've pretty much completed called Understanding the Singer's Body, because I've spent so much time understanding this that I feel like it's part of my greater purpose to share things with people. And so many singers in the a cappella world are self-trained. We've learned how to harmonize, we've learned how to sing in tune, but we haven't necessarily learned how to support our sound to be the best solo singer we can, to add that to the group. And just because you can sing well as a group doesn't mean that each of the individual members is doing the best that they could. And when every single person in a group is singing solidly with their own solid foundation, then the group sounds like is transcended to another level still. So yeah, a big part of my purpose is to educate. And yeah, teaching is a very passionate part of my life now. For most of Accent's career, we have been the agents for our own group. Evan does a lot of the managing and booking for us. And we've worked with a few different people that were kind of temporary positions, but nothing has really stuck for us to be able to say like they are our agent right now. So we've booked some gigs in Europe through one company, and we've talked with some other people who have expressed interest, and we're still just looking for the right person who really understands who we are and what our vision is, and can help us get there without compromising our sound. Because we've had some people say like, oh, we can get you gigs all throughout the next year. You just have to be singing them in these kinds of venues, and this is what your show has to look like. And as soon as we start compromising our ability to be ourselves and make it a show or something, not that we shouldn't have a show, but to make it seem less of ourselves, then it won't feel as authentic, and we won't survive in the long run with that. Thanks to everyone who has been an inspiring person in my life, all of the members of Accent, all of the teachers from my university program who helped me, who gave me, like, the head of the vocal program at Humber at the time, she's retired now, she came to my high school when I was, how old was I, 17 or 18 or something, and she was running this summer camp called the All-Star Vocal Jazz Program, and there was a bunch of us kids, and we were singing scat solos around in a circle, or I think I did a scat solo over Autumn Leaves. And she pulled me aside after and just said, like, you know what you're doing. Like, you have the ears, you've clearly had the musical experience to understand this stuff, and I want you to come to my music school in Toronto. And I said, thanks for the offer, but I'm going to the University of Saskatchewan, which was... It's funny looking back, because I knew so little about the world at that time, and that's just what everyone else in Saskatoon does, because it's such a small place, that I just kind of wrote that off. But the following year, when like all of my other friends who were maybe a year behind me in school, but my closest musical friends were like, yeah, we're going to go to Humber, I think. And I was like, oh, I want to go there, because the University of Saskatchewan was not very fulfilling. Well, it was fulfilling only that I sung in this 40-piece classical choir that was full of voice majors there, and I thought, like, this is what I should be doing. So the fact that everyone else was going there, and that I had like a golden ticket to go there without even needing to audition, basically, was I'm just very thankful for Trish Coulter, because she was the person who, without her, I'd probably be back in Saskatoon. Who else to thank? My parents for supporting me and for supporting me and allowing me to, or not having expectations of what I should be, I guess. And like both of them are patrons of mine. I'm so thankful for my parents, because a lot of people out there are not as fortunate as I am to have such loving parents who will support them in whatever they do. And yeah, I've got such like a solid connection with my parents that I'm a very happy boy.